Don't you dare come back if you can't even do basic housework. My mother-in-law spat at me and raged while I was hospitalized due to a broken leg. The irony was that she was the cause of my injury, yet instead of apologizing, she was trying to throw me out of the house. Pushed to my limits, I smiled and responded, "Oh, I'd be delighted to do that, ma'am." A few days later, my husband confronted her. "Do you have any idea, Mom? Did you not know about Emily?" Upon hearing the truth revealed by my husband, my mother-in-law turned as pale as a ghost. "My name is Emily Johnson. 3 years ago, I married Alex, whom I met through a mutual acquaintance. Alex's family runs a diner managed primarily by his mother. His father passed away early, and his mother single-handedly raised him, which I'm sure was a tough journey. Initially, I deeply respected my mother-in-law, but that didn't last long. Even after getting married, because Alex wanted me to continue working, I didn't quit my job. Alex, as the second-generation owner of the diner, was running the business alongside his mother. However, my mother-in-law disliked that I didn't help around their house. A woman who doesn't even help with house chores, even if you're working outside, we all know a woman's salary isn't much. She'd grumble every day. Soon, her constant complaining escalated to harassment. "You don't do chores at all," she'd complain, and when I managed to squeeze in some time for house chores, she'd criticize, "You're not doing it properly at all. Do you even care?" Even though I thought I was doing a decent job, it was never good enough for her. She'd berate me, calling me a useless wife who can't do housework, and at times she would lecture me for hours. Her harassment intensified, and my stress kept building up. When I tried talking to Alex about it, he said, "It's between you two, right? Don't drag me into this, staying out of it." Then one day, an incident broke out. The diner was closed that day, and my mother-in-law left early in the morning to go somewhere. As evening came, I received a sudden call demanding me to come and get her. The call ended abruptly before I could even refuse, leaving me with no choice but to reluctantly head to the train station. When I finally reached the station, she did nothing but complain all the way home, accusing me of being late and complaining about the heating system. It was nothing new, so I just nodded and shrugged it off. But I guess that got on her nerves. What kind of attitude is that? Don't you think it's disrespectful to your mother-in-law? In a fit of rage, she raised her hand against me even though I was driving. "Ouch, stop it, I'm driving, you know." "Quiet, don't you dare talk back to me." My pleas fell on deaf ears as she was blinded by anger. Not satisfied with her slaps, she tried to kick me hard, but her foot hit the steering wheel. The next thing I knew, I was in a hospital bed. "Where am I?" I asked the nurse who was changing my IV drip. Apparently, I had been brought to the hospital after a car accident. I had broken my right leg and suffered cuts and bruises all over my body. "How's my mother-in-law?" "She's only got some scratches. There were no other injured persons." The nurse's words relieved me a bit. However, when my mother-in-law came to my room, she started yelling, "It's all your fault that I got injured. You need to pay me compensation." She screeched at me the moment she saw me. "Where did you get injured?" I asked. "Right here," she said, rolling up her sleeve to reveal a small piece of gauze. On the other hand, I was confined to my bed, unable to even get up. The accident was her fault. Out of nowhere, she lost her temper and hit me while I was driving, leading to the wreck. But there wasn't a single word of apology from her. Far from it. On top of being good for nothing, you want to be a nuisance to your own mother-in-law. You're nothing but a god of pestilence. I never liked you from the start. Don't you dare come back if you can't even do basic housework." The moment I heard those words, I felt something snap inside me. "Oh, I'd be delighted to do that, ma'am." The words slipped from my mouth before I even knew it. My mother-in-law just stood there with a stunned look on her face. "I won't be returning to your house. I'm going to divorce Alex." "Thank you for everything until now," I said, bowing slightly. My mother-in-law was jolted back to reality. "Oh, how unusual for you to listen for once. Yes, just as you say, I'm useless and worthless." "I don't belong in your house," I said, pretending to be downcast. My mother-in-law left the hospital room, saying, "Oh, I see," unable to say anything further. Even after that, my mother-in-law kept coming to my hospital room and complaining, "You'll end up on the streets if you can't come back to our house. It'll be too late to regret it then." "Yes, you're right. It would have been better if you had done this sooner. You're absolutely right. Are you listening?" While my mother-in-law kept complaining, I was casually ignoring her and sitting on my phone. This happened several times. A week after I was admitted to the hospital, my mother-in-law came to my room to complain as usual. Just as I was ignoring her as usual, my pale-faced husband Alex burst in. "Oh, it's unusual for you to visit. What changed your mind?" "What on earth is this?" Alex asked, holding a divorce paper with my details already filled in. "Oh, Dad, I asked my family to mail it. I'm glad it arrived just fine," I replied. "Why all of a sudden?" Alex asked. I relayed to my husband what my mother-in-law had told me. "And to think, Mom, did you not know Emily earns way more than I do?" My husband turned pale as he asked this in a shaky voice. "Yes, I've been working for a large corporation since before we got married. I've diligently worked and achieved decent results," I explained. "So I hold a fairly high position now. My salary reflects the toughness of the job and is, as my husband put it, quite substantial. But she doesn't look like she earns that much, does she? She always wears the same sort of clothes." My mother-in-law interjected. "That's because Emily has been spending her money on our diner," Alex explained. This was true. The diner my mother-in-law runs was on the brink of bankruptcy. It was in a tight spot when my husband took it over, as my mother-in-law had no business acumen. My husband was trying to turn it around, and I've been using my salary to keep the diner afloat, and have given a lot of advice about its management. We managed to escape the worst situation, but without my salary, the diner would probably go out of business soon. "No, it can't be true. There's no way that useless woman could do such a thing," my mother-in-law said, flustered and unable to believe what she was hearing. I showed her my phone, which I had been using until just a moment ago. "What is this?" "It's the data recording of your diner's performance, and this here is my pay stub. My workplace has digitized our pay slips." My mother-in-law stared at my phone and slowly turned pale. "No, that can't be. Also, I should mention that I've already consulted with the police about the accident you caused." "What?" My mother-in-law's expression was utterly shocked. I sighed in exasperation. "Since an accident occurred, of course the police will conduct an inquiry, right? So I've reported everything exactly as it happened to the police. I've also submitted the dash cam footage." Why would you do that?" "From your reaction, it seems you're aware you caused the accident, aren't you? There's a chance you could be held criminally liable, but if you admit it, you might get off with a lighter sentence." After a while, my mother-in-law started trembling, and then, to my surprise, she knelt before me. "I'm sorry. I had no idea we were living off your money. I'm sorry about the accident, too. I'm reflecting on my actions. Please forgive me." My mother-in-law's sudden change in attitude was astonishing. Until now, she never uttered an apology. Is it that easy to say sorry if it means she gets off the hook? I thought, feeling more disgusted than angry. "Emily, Mom's really sorry. You'll forgive her, right?" Alex said, near tears, as he laid his hand on my mother-in-law's back. She looked up at him with tearful eyes, and he nodded back reassuringly. Watching them trying to garner sympathy, I felt nothing but cold resolve. "What are you saying? I will never forgive you guys," I stated firmly. "Huh?" Alex looked taken aback. "Isn't it obvious? Actually, I intended to divorce you even before this mess with your mom. Even when I was seriously injured and hospitalized, you never visited me. You spent my salary without a shred of gratitude. I've been fed up with you for a while now." "What?" Alex's face fell. "There's no benefit for me in staying married to you. In fact, you're only bringing me down. That's why I'm divorcing you." I smiled brightly, in stark contrast to Alex and my mother-in-law, whose faces were filled with despair. There was some fuss afterward with Alex throwing a tantrum, but once I mentioned getting a lawyer involved, he quickly signed the divorce papers. He should have just signed them without making such a fuss. I thought I couldn't be more disappointed in him, but the regret of marrying him cut deep. Once they lost my support, their family diner quickly faced operational issues. It shut down in no time, leaving Alex and my mother-in-law in a poor state. My mother-in-law had said she would be left out on the streets, and that's exactly what happened. But it seems they were the ones in that predicament. They sold off the diner for peanuts and moved to a rundown apartment. Having no work experience outside the diner, they could only find low-paying jobs, barely making ends meet. By the way, it turned out that my mother-in-law had lied about losing her husband at a young age. She was quite a player, and her fed-up husband had filed for divorce and left her. Even on the day of the accident, she was out gallivanting with a man. I found out these details from a police officer who was investigating the accident. I have nothing but gratitude for the police who kept up the investigation. My mother-in-law will probably be charged with some crime at some point. Already living a miserable life, if they end up in police custody, they would surely face ruin. Perhaps sensing this, I received a plea for reconciliation from my ex-husband after our divorce. "If you continue to bother me, I'll have the cops come for you and your mother," I threatened him. He never showed up in front of me again. The divorce went through smoothly and I cut ties with my in-laws. My broken bone healed after treatment. Currently, I'm working hard while still recovering from my injury. I had been using my salary for my in-laws' diner before, so I had almost no money left for myself. But it's different now. Working for myself and being able to spend money only on myself, I had no idea how much happiness this would bring. I'm thinking of valuing myself more, and if I can find a partner who values me, I'm considering getting remarried.